All right, good evening, everyone. I would like to call the October 22nd, 2024 Committee of the Whole public meeting to order. I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on unceded Algonquin homelands. I would like to acknowledge and thank the Algonquin nations for their stewardship of these lands. I would now like to ask if anyone has an interest to declare to please do so now. Seeing none, I will now call for a mover to approve the agenda. Trustee Lyra, does anyone have any changes or additions to the agenda? Trustee Lyra?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to add two items as items a new item 9.1 and a new item 9.2 to discuss the changes to the provincial regulation and if the Committee of the Whole continues to serve the board well. And two, I would like to add a discussion about whether or not the existing committees that we have all serve their intended function.
All right, thank you, Trustee Lyra. I'm going to look around the room. Is this a consent item? This is not. Trustee Lyra, you will get introduction, and then we will do any questions that people may have. Okay. Trustee Lyra?
The first one. So on a motion to add a new item 9.1.
Can you do both of them together, please?
Sure. Okay. So there are two conversations that I would like us to have. The first conversation is about whether or not our governance model with the Committee of the Whole best serves the interest of the district. With the new provincial regulations and the requirements to attend in person for districts with Committee of the Whole models, there has been a lot of conversation around this table about whether or not that it creates an undue burden on trustees. I would also like us to have a conversation about adopting a different model and breaking up our large Committee of the Whole discussions into perhaps smaller groups. I looked at other districts around the province, particularly Toronto, in the email that I sent you all, about how they have broken their large, instead of a Committee of the Whole, they break their board into several smaller committees with wide mandates. Specifically, the Finance, Budget, and Enrollment Committee is one, the Governance and Policy Committee is the second, the Program and School Services Committee is the third, and the Strategic Planning and Priorities Committee is the fourth. I would envision this being a conversation that we would have so that we could formulate a motion, because some conversation's been had about how it is better to have these conversations and then formulate a motion versus writing a motion about what I think best and then sort of having people debate or argue about that. So this is an intention to have these conversations first. The other conversation that I wanted to have is whether or not all of our committees serve their intended role. So we have more than 20 committees and appointments at the district right now, some of which are, I would argue, artifacts of a different time. And so we should have a conversation amongst ourselves about, do all of them serve their intended purpose? Is there anything that we could do differently to make ourselves more efficient? And so I just wanted to have these conversations. We had a light agenda this evening, and I thought they were worthy and valuable conversations that did not require a huge staff report on our governance models. So that is my introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lyra. I'm looking around the room, and would anyone like to speak or ask any clarifying questions of Trustee Lyra? Trustee Scott?
Thank you. I appreciate the concept. However, I do not think that a conversation at this stage, when people have not had the opportunity to be prepared for a coherent, fact-based discussion of the subject, is really indicated for tonight. We could certainly consider it agenda planning, putting something around that. And we certainly have already been having discussions about revisiting some of the board bylaws and so on with a view to making some of our meetings more efficient. I think that belongs in a larger conversation. And I think it would be premature to try to tackle it tonight.
All right, thank you, Trustee Scott. Are there any other speakers to the item? Trustee Presley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I would have to echo Trustee Scott in that I do think that these are really valuable conversations that we should be having. However, given that this email was sent 3 days ago, and I thank you for sending it, I would love to have some more time to prepare and really engage in a more fulsome conversation at a later date.
All right, thank you, Trustee Presley. I am seeing no other hands. So Trustee Lyra, wrap up. None required. All right, so we are all voting on the motion to add items 9.1 and 9.2 to the agenda. All those in favor? And opposed? And that motion fails. As trustee Scott said, we will be looking at it at agenda planning to bring this back for further discussion, as it is a very important agenda item. Looking around the room, are there any additional changes or additions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the agenda? And that carries. All right, moving on to the briefing from the chair of the board. Trustee Scott, can you please provide your briefing?
Good evening. This week is Local Government Week for the Ontario Public School Boards Association, or OPSBA. The aim of the week is to increase youth and public awareness about the important role local government, including public school boards, plays in our communities. For more information, please visit the OPSBA website. Secondly, the Ottawa Student Transportation Authority, OSTA, has launched a new progressive web app to enhance communication and better serve the communities. This free, user-friendly app will keep parents, guardians, and students updated on their transportation status. It features real-time alerts for delays, updates, cancellations, and inclement weather days. You can visit the OSTA website for more information on that. And finally, a reminder to all that Julia Forty, our new trustee for Zone 2, Canada North and Canada South, will be officially sworn in at our next regular board meeting on Tuesday, the 29th of October. And that's all my briefing for tonight, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Chair Scott. Are there any questions for the chair at this time? I am seeing none, so we are going to move on to the briefing from the director. Director, please provide your briefing.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that this year's OCDSB Family Conference takes place next week, Saturday, November the 2nd, 2024, from 8:30 to 3 p.m. at Woodruff High School. Join us for a day of collaboration, inspiring speakers, and workshops to help support your child's educational journey. The event will feature noted youth entrepreneur, author, and inspirational speaker Sam Dema as the keynote speaker. I encourage all parents, guardians, and caregivers, student staff, and community members to register and take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. Visit our website for further details. Also, the International Baccalaureate Program's virtual open house is taking place next month on November 20th. Learn more about the IB program and the application process for the next school year. Our website will also contain additional details on this particular opportunity. And in closing, recently, staff at the OCDSB's Central Administration Office here at 133 Greenbank organized a fall barbecue with the proceeds going to support the Education Foundation of Ottawa. This event, along with other activities organized by the OCDSB's Social Committee, have raised over $1,500 for the Education Foundation to date. The EFO helps support the critical needs of OCDSB students. If you are able, please support the EFO by making a donation today. For further details, please visit educationfoundationottawa.ca. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Looking around the room, are there any questions for the Director? Seeing none, we have no delegations tonight, so we will be moving on to reports from statutory and other committees. I will now call for a mover to receive the report of the Special Education Advisory Committee dated September 4th, 2024. Trustee Dixon, are there any errors or omissions to this report? Seeing none, I will now call the vote to receive the report. All those in favor? And that carries. I will now call for a mover to receive the report of the Parent Involvement Committee dated September 11th, 2024. Trustee Nash, are there any errors or omissions to this report? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. I will now call for a mover to receive the report of the Indigenous Education Council dated September 19th, 2024. Trustee Scott, are there any errors or omissions to this report? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Moving on to items for information, I will now call upon trustee Scott or Jenkins to provide an OPSPA report if available.
Thank you, Chair. On Saturday, a number of trustees, we went to the OPSPA Eastern Regional meeting where we discussed a number of issues, including cell phone usage, vaping, best practices, and each board presented their goals, their issues, and opportunities that can support their strategic priorities. It was a very interesting meeting, and it's always good to get together with our local boards to hear what they're doing and what works well for them, and perhaps that we can introduce into our board.
All right, thank you, trustee Jenkins. Are there any questions for trustee Jenkins or trustee Scott at this time? All right, I am seeing none, so we will move on to an update from OSTA this evening and to trustee Lee.
Hey, just a reminder that tomorrow is Driver Appreciation Day for OSTA, so please take the time to thank your school bus driver or your van driver for all the hard work that they do to get you or your children to school.
All right, thank you, trustee Lee. I do have a speakers lister, so trustee Lara.
Thanks. I was wondering if you could speak to the decision to have canceled yet another OSTA meeting. There's been 3 at least canceled OSTA meetings since the beginning of the school year, and that seems like an awful lot. And I am concerned that the OCDSB is not being as involved as we could be given the number of canceled board meetings we've had as OSTA.
So this is the only meeting that's formally scheduled meeting that has been canceled this year.
Sorry, calendar year, not school year.
Okay, so OSTA has several placeholder meetings throughout the year. There's about 3 of them, which are optional under OSTA's governance structure, and they are placeholders in the case that there is adequate material to discuss during those meetings. There was no items to discuss or was brought to the chair's attention for this meeting, which is why it was canceled.
All right, thank you, trustee Lara and trustee Lee. Are there any other additional questions? Seeing none, we will move on to items of new business. Is there any items of new business? All right, seeing none, I now declare this meeting adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone. Reminder to trustees, we still have our in-camera meeting this evening, so please return to the trustee committee lounge. Thank you.